What would you do if water was watching you? My name is Max. I'm 20, and I live for adrenaline. I'm an urban explorer, the kind of guy who climbs through abandoned psychiatric hospitals and bunkers to film content that makes my subscribers' blood run cold. This time I found something special, an abandoned water park called Blue Abyss, hidden deep in the state's forests. I dug up the coordinates on a closed diggers forum, where people only whispered about the place. Where the trees have grown into the slides, the water never dries. It was a moonless night when I made my way through the dense forest. My footsteps on the dry leaves sounded like thunder in the dead silence. Suddenly, among the tops of the pines, I saw it. A giant blue water slide, covered in rust and moss, rising above the forest like the neck of a dead dinosaur. The fence around the complex was welded shut with thick rebar, and old "no trespassing" signs hung at every step. But to me, that was just an invitation. I found a gap under the mesh and slipped inside, feeling the air instantly grow thick and damp. The central entrance to the main pavilion greeted me with shattered glass doors and the smell of chlorine that should not have been there after 20 years of abandonment. I switched on my powerful flashlight, and the beam cut through the darkness, revealing the skeletons of empty ticket booths and scattered life jackets. An incredible humidity filled the air inside. Long, pale mushrooms, like tentacles, hung from the ceiling, and puddles of strange dark slime glistened on the floor. I walked toward the main pool, where laughter once echoed, but now only darkness reigned. I pointed my flashlight at the children's pool called Little Frog. At the bottom, among dust and dry leaves, lay a bright red rubber duck. It looked completely new, as if a child's hand had just placed it there. I bent down to pick up the toy for a shot, but my fingers froze a centimeter from the rubber. From the pool walls, directly out of the water supply openings, a transparent viscous liquid began slowly seeping out, smelling like rotten river water. I straightened up and raised the flashlight higher, scanning the empty hall. Right in the middle of the main pool on the tall lifeguard tower, I saw a silhouette. A tall, thin figure in a faded red cap stood motionless, staring down at me. I wanted to shout, "Hello!" but instead a piercing ultrasonic whistle echoed throughout the water park, nearly bursting my eardrums. The whistle wasn't just loud, it vibrated in my bones. I grabbed my head, dropping the flashlight onto the concrete floor. The beam rolled under a bench, illuminating only my legs and the puddles of slime that were rapidly growing. I snatched the flashlight and aimed it back at the lifeguard tower. The figure was gone. Only the faded red cap floated slowly in a puddle at the base of the tower. Suddenly, I heard a sound that made my heart sink. It was a loud, rhythmic slap, slap, slap. The sound of wet flesh striking concrete. The sound came not from one direction, but from everywhere at once. I turned the flashlight toward the nearest drain in the floor. From beneath the narrow grate, a human eye was staring at me, but it was enormous, yellow, and set in a head that looked as if it were made of liquid glass. The creature began literally pouring itself out of the grate. Long, semi-transparent webbed fingers gripped the edge of the concrete. Through the skin, I could clearly see human bones, broken and twisted to fit through the narrow pipes. This was the lifeguard. Instead of a mouth, he had a rusty metal whistle that had grown directly into his cheeks and jaw, merging with muscle into a grotesque tumor. He did not breathe, he simply watched. I bolted for the exit, but the floor had become unbelievably slippery. Every step I took was accompanied by splashes of sticky water. I ran into the shower area, hoping to hide inside a stall. I slammed the metal door shut and pressed my back against it. But then I heard splashing directly above my head. From each shower head, a thin, transparent limb began slowly emerging, as if the water were taking the shape of skeletal arms. I looked at the drain at my feet. From the darkness of the pipe, the metal whistle rose upward, and I felt a cold, watery hand clamp tightly around my ankle. With a scream, I tore my leg free and kicked open the stall door. The lifeguard wasn't just chasing me. He was part of the building itself, moving through the pipes faster than I could run on the ground. I burst into the main hall and realized the path to the entrance was cut off. From every drain and shower grate, the lifeguard was pouring out, merging into a giant semi-transparent mass blocking the doors. The only way was up, to the very top of the blue slide. I ran up the rusty metal stairs that groaned beneath my weight. Each step was coated in slime, and several times I nearly fell. I rushed into the starting cabin of the slide at the height of the 5th floor. Behind me, along the iron railings, the lifeguard slithered. He moved effortlessly, like a snake, emitting a hoarse, gurgling hiss through his whistle. I jumped into the plastic tunnel of the slide, hoping to slide down and shoot out through a crack in the wall I had seen from outside. But inside the slide, it was completely dry and dark. I began sliding down, but suddenly felt the tunnel narrowing. It wasn't a construction flaw. The lifeguard was filling the tube with himself, creating a plug of watery flesh ahead of me. I was stuck, my shoulders pressed against the cold plastic. Behind me, I heard the approaching slap, slap, slap. The creature intended to force me into the filtration system, where the pipes narrowed to only 20 centimeters in diameter. I felt for the fire axe at my belt, which I had grabbed from a stand in the lobby just in case. My hands were trembling, and caustic slime dripped into my eyes from the ceiling of the tube. Right in front of my face, the lifeguard's head emerged from the darkness. He brought the rusty whistle close to my ear, and I smelled thousands of liters of stagnant, rotten water. I swung the axe and struck the plastic wall of the slide with all my strength. The plastic cracked, and I saw the night sky and the tops of the pines. The lifeguard let out a piercing whistle and lunged at me, trying to envelop my body with his cold jelly. With one final blow, I hacked a hole large enough to tumble through. I fell from a height of 3 meters straight into the bushes, feeling my lungs finally fill with fresh forest air. I didn't wait a second. I ran through the thicket toward my car, tearing pieces of sticky slime from my body. I survived. I was free. I deleted all the photos from my blog and swore never to do urban exploration again. Couldn't calm down. Thoughts of that night wouldn't let me sleep. I always felt as if I was being watched. Unable to endure the mental strain, I decided to find out who or what had tried to kill me that night. And here's what I found on one of the forums about abandoned water parks in the USA. Old employees used to say that the lifeguard was once an ordinary guy named Sam. In 2004, there was a malfunction in the filtration system, and Sam was sucked into the main pump. His body was never found because it literally dissolved in the chemicals and water, becoming part of the water park's eternal circulation. Now he searches for new flesh to strengthen his watery form. I even moved into an apartment without a bathtub, with only a shower and a tray. It seemed like a good ending, until the first night in my new home. I stood under streams of hot water, trying to wash away the memories. Suddenly, I noticed that the water in the shower tray had stopped draining. Even though the drain was clean, the air in the bathroom instantly grew heavy and smelled of chlorine. I looked down. From the dark opening of the drain, slowly, millimeter by millimeter, a thin, pale, semi-transparent finger began to rise. It was long as a pencil and carefully felt the air, trying to touch my ankle. From deep within the pipes came a faint, thin whistle. I realized that Sam had not stayed in the water park. He had simply found a way into the city's water system. Now every drop of water in my home is his eyes. What would you do if you opened an abandoned warehouse and saw a TV turned on, broadcasting you live from inside an empty room? Mark thought he had bought junk for $50, but along with box number 402, he got the collector, who can go beyond the screen. Find out why some doors are better left unopened.